So good afternoon and welcome to quite an unusual episode of my vlogging. Don't really class them as episodes, more adventures. But anyway, slightly an unusual one. The plan was that it would be snowing. Yep, this is rain. Also, the plan was for it to be very misty. Not really a lot of mist. But we're in the woods. So let's go and get some woodland photography. Fingers crossed it gets cold, the snow starts falling and the mist comes back. And it has been here all day, which is probably the most irritating part. But I'm going to wander off that way and see what we can find. So I've just been walking down and I've been looking at these trees here, covered in the lichen. Now if I can get this, but like surrounded by maybe these conifers and these fir trees, these evergreens, I think that will make quite a nice shot. But where they're located right now, yeah, it's not even a snapshot. So I'm going to carry on wandering down and see what I can find. And fingers crossed we find something. It doesn't look like there's going to be any more mist coming up the valley, so that's what I was hoping on, the mist. But we'll make something. We will. I'm going to keep on wandering. We've got a couple of hours until darkness. We will make something. We will. Check that cabin out. Now if that's not worth a photograph, I don't know what is. If I could have it in blue hour with more mist in the air, a little lake that's not frozen in front of it with perfect reflections, yeah it would be definitely a shot for a portfolio. But with what I've got, I think that this is still going to be a pretty tasty image. Now I hope they don't mind me getting a shot of their cabin. But I think I'm going to set up just over in this direction here. So I've got the path leading in from the right hand side, guiding your eye across to the left, around into that cabin. I don't want to cut any elements of that cabin out. And luckily the lights are on in the windows. So I'm going to take a risk, hope they don't see me, / hope they don't get upset by me getting an image. We'll soon find out. Okay, so I've got my shot all lined up and I'm pretty happy with the results. Yeah, it's a bit weird that I've got the family in the house looking at me. A guy did come out and he asked what I was doing and told him I was taking a photograph and he's like, it's okay, it's okay. So that's pretty sweet. So it's always good if people do ask, just be friendly and do your best to sort of make them feel comfortable about what you are doing. I didn't mention that I was filming on a camera and talking to it or anything like that. Don't want them to think I'm totally crazy. But this is what I'm looking at. I've put these two trees there and there to frame the scene. And now when I take this shot, it's going to be on a 5:4 crop. So it is going to be a slightly narrower on the sides and wider on the top. I framed the cabin so it's in the top left hand third. It might not quite be there on the video, but it is up there. And I love this little cabin here and it helps balance out. So I've not put this central, this cabin, because I want this one to feel included. I don't want it to feel squished and pushed off the side of the image. The shots for this I'm going to be super simple. I'm going to take one for the shadows, one for the highlights and one for the lights in the windows, which I'll probably make that little bit more brighter because I want them to really be a part of this image. There we are. I'm also going to shoot on a wider aperture because I want the foreground to be a little bit soft, and I want the trees in the background to be super soft, because I want the emphasis to be on that house. That's the most important part in this image. 1 second, let's just readjust the view. There we are. So that's the most important part of this image, that house. So that's what the emphasis is going to be on. So I'm going to open my aperture to 3.5. Okay, and then I'm going to adjust my settings according to that. 1/15 of a second. And that is going to be my initial shot. So I'm just going to 2-second timer, ISO 100, f 3.5, and that is looking beautiful. Check it out. So this one was for the house. Now for the shadows in the trees, I'm going to raise that exposure a little bit more. I'm going to go to 1/10 of a second. I'm going to fire that off. And now for the detail in the snow, I'm going to drop that exposure, because I want the snow to look a little bit moody, especially shadowy in the forest, because I want it to almost look like it's in that clearing. So I'm going to fire that one off. So still f 3.5, ISO 100, and that was shot. And that was shot on 1/30th of a second. Now for the light, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my ISO. So I'm going to go from 100 to 200. I'm going to lower my exposure. So the lights didn't really stand out much more, but with that second shot that I've taken for the lights, with that higher ISO, so it's taking in more light, I'm hoping to embellish when I edit and bring out them lights that little bit more. So when I composite that all together, it's going to create quite a nice image. And the lady in the house just popped out there and she was just letting me know that it's not that beautiful because there's crates and chairs in front, and we'll see what we can do in Photoshop. We will try and remove them for sure. But I think a beautiful image, and it's time to move on to the next shot. So after walking away from that house, as beautiful as it was, the woman is right. It's a shame that all little things were out in front of it. But it's pretty good for what I'm getting so far today. But I'm still looking for that tree. And that rain that we had this afternoon has killed all the snow on the branches, which is a huge shame, because that was one of the reasons why I had this huge ambition to come out and get these trees. But fingers crossed, because there are still possibilities. There are still lone trees that, with the right camera angle, with the right foreground interest, could still make a nice image. Like this one over here. I quite like this one. If I could get high enough above it to give it that vantage point of it on its own, secluded, or if a big bank of mist came in behind it, could be quite a nice image. But for what I'm getting at the moment, yeah, it could be better. I'm going to keep on wandering on with my fingers crossed, as always, and see what happens. You never know, the perfect thing might just stand out. So I've almost made it back to Maribel Centre, and yeah, there has been plenty of trees, but none of them caught my eye. None of them were special enough to stop and stand and wait. And do you know what I think a big factor of that has been? Not just the fact the rain has washed all that snow off them branches, which is a huge shame because that really gives that wintry feeling. But also the mist has gone, so I've lost that separation between the focal point and the background, which is a big part in woodland photography. It's getting that separation, getting that standout moment, and the light's drab and everything else. And I feel like I'm making a lot of excuses on why the photography may not have turned out that well, but I still always think it's worthwhile bringing you along, because not every shoot works out perfectly, not every idea becomes a thing, becomes something, but maybe not what you hoped it to be. So my thoughts for the end of this week is, don't get disencouraged. Is that a word? Don't get put off by things not working out the way you'd hoped. It can quite easily just not go right, especially with landscape photography. But I hope you enjoyed the vlog. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you enjoyed that one shot that I did get of that cabin, because I think that is going to be quite a nice shot. By now you may have seen it, you might not have seen it, but I think I'm going to really drop them blues and really bring out the yellows of the lights on the insides and darken up them trees. But yeah, going to be a lot of colour grading to make that shot epic. But that is going to be all from me this week. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop us a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And other than that, have a lovely week. Peace out.